Alright guys, this video is an updated version of my previous tips for photographing black dogs. You guys let me know that you wanted visual and photo examples along with the tips that I shared. I don't know why I didn't include those, but I didn't. So this has been refreshed and updated for you. Now, if you're watching this right now, you probably already know black dogs are going to be one of the trickiest types of dogs that you're going to photograph in your pet photography journey. So today I want to share my best tips for photographing black dogs that will make it easier for you and have some things to keep in mind when you're actually working with those types of dogs, whether you're photographing adoptables, a client dog, or even your own pets. All right, first, when working with black dogs, you want to make sure there is a lot of light. It is so easy for the detail of a black dog to get lost, so we want to make sure that we are working with a lot of available light when photographing them. I recommend trying to photograph a black dog during the brighter part of golden hour before you lose too much light. That's generally when I like to shoot, which is why I'm saying at that specific time. Or if you have multiple dogs in a pack that you're photographing and you're photographing either the early part of the day or in the evening, you want to start with the black dog first so you have the most available light for that pup as you kind of work through the session. If you need to start your session earlier than normal to account for the multiple dogs or the multiple groups that you'll be photographing, or if the whole pack is multiple black dogs, then do it. Obviously, the length of time needed and at what time you start taking photos will depend on how quickly you shoot, the location of choice, the type of shoot it is, and also the final result that you're working towards along with the light. Now, thinking on light, that brings me to my next point, which sort of does coincide with the first, is to make sure that there are catch lights in the dog's eyes and plenty of light on their face. If the light is too bright behind the subject, it will be very, very hard for your camera to focus on an already dark spot, aka their face. It's really important when working with a darker colored dog or black dog to balance the light in the front and the back of the dog so the light is more even, allowing the camera to catch focus on the face, specifically those beautiful eyes. Now, what I like to do here is to face the dogs towards the light source, especially if the sun is low enough in the sky to do so, or underneath open shade, which you guys know I love. You could use a small reflector or take advantage of maybe a light colored building, sidewalk, concrete, etc. that will really help to bounce light back onto the dog and help to illuminate their face. Depending on your technical knowledge and comfort level with artificial lighting, utilizing off-camera flash or some sort of off-camera light source can also be really helpful for illuminating their face. Say something like an ice light. I know a lot of people tend to use those. Next, make sure you can in fact see their eyes. Not just the catch lights, but their eyes. A lot of curly-haired breeds, specifically poodles, sometimes the notable style for longer-haired breeds or curly-haired breeds is for the pups to have really long hair, and then that hair just kind of lays or hangs in the eyes. And I always ask clients to have their pet groomed at least a few days in advance of their session, and if it's okay, if they don't mind, to have the hair around the dog's eyes trimmed enough to see the eyes or be able to catch focus. Because your camera will have a difficult time focusing on the face, especially if you use that sort of eye detection or recognition, and the photos will just feel kind of lackluster because the subject isn't engaging with the camera since you can't actually see their eyes. I also mentioned this bit about the hair being in the eyes, making sure you can see the eyes, because some black dogs also have very dark colored eyes, meaning that not only are you already working with a more challenging color of dog and eyes that don't generally pick up as much light, but then you have the hair in the face, you can't see the catch lights, the hair causes shadows over the eyes. It's just another thing that you have to really think about and consider when you're photographing a black dog, specifically one that might have hair laying in their eyes. All right, and like I mentioned a moment ago, because your camera is going to have trouble focusing on a dark dog's face and eyes, try using a slightly higher aperture when focusing on their face. So something like an f4 or an f5.6. The reason for this is that when you use a higher aperture and don't shoot wide open, you have a wider depth of field, making it much more likely for you, or you have a better, what's the word I'm looking for? A better margin of error. So when you're trying to get the face and the eyes sharp, if you're shooting at a higher aperture, you're much more likely to be able to get those eyes in focus. And that's just a little trick that if you're just starting out in your pet photography business and you find that black dogs are really challenging and black dogs with really, really dark eyes, allowing yourself that little bit more of a margin of error is going to help set you up for a success, have a higher hit rate of getting that face and those eyes in focus. And then over time, as you evolve your pet photography and you become more proficient at getting those eyes in focus, you can then move your aperture down to shooting more wide open, say that 2.8 or that 1.8. All right, so I have found when photographing black dogs, your camera's gonna freak out a little bit because it's trying to expose for this huge dark spot in the center of the frame, meaning that it tends to overexpose your black dog, making them look gray or sort of off color or just not truly black like they are in person, right? So to prevent this, you'll want to generally underexpose the image intentionally a stop or two in order to accurately correct the exposure manually in camera. So the black dog will look like a black dog and your highlights and your shadows are where they're supposed to be on the histogram. You're not like fully underexposing the image or overexposing the image and then losing detail in the dog's fur. All right, so if by chance you are working with multiple dogs at a session or pets and people with a black dog, make sure that that black dog is closest as possible to the light source. If your black dog is furthest away from your light source, whether it's artificial light or it's sunshine or natural lighting, with multiple pets and people, you will lose a lot of detail in the animal and they will just look like a huge black blob in the image, which I've done before, and nobody wants that from their pet's session. So the trick here is to move them to the side or end that is closest to the light source, whether that's the sun or studio lighting, so that you can really gather more detail and light in their eyes and they're balanced with the other subjects in the image. Now, obviously, I understand when you're photographing pets, especially if you're doing like an end of life session or something and the black dog just wants to lay in the center of everybody, you gotta kind of work with what you've got. But where possible, where you can, be sure to move that black dog closer to the light source. And that's just gonna help set you up for success. You're gonna make sure to maintain a lot of the beautiful detail in the fur, the detail in the face, and of course those beautiful eyes as well. Another great trick for photographing black dogs is to put them on a brighter, more contrasting background. I personally love utilizing a parking lot or a concrete or lightly colored steps or a pretty walkway to use as a backdrop for a black dog. The reason I do this is twofold. One, the animal really stands out against the lighter colored backdrop. And two, as I mentioned earlier, the lighter background or all of the lighter color surrounding the animal is going to help with light. So try as much as possible to avoid putting a black dog on a really dark background or an area with very little light, as it's going to make photographing them that much more challenging, you guys. This obviously, there is that style of studio portraiture that is black dogs and black backdrops with, studio light, and it's all proper and everything. And it's a gorgeous style of pet photography. But that's not where you get started. That's where you are mastering your craft at that point. So be sure to put them on a contrasting background and it will definitely help you to have more available light to photograph your black dog. And if all else fails because you've taken all of these tips and you're working with pets, things don't always go to plan. You can always adjust the dog in post-production. Now, I still want you to take everything that I have learned or everything I've taught you in this video because it will help you to maintain detail, light in their face, catch lights in their eyes, making sure they're in focus, all of which are really important for a stunning image. So all you have to do later is maybe darken the shadows or deepen their blacks or brighten the eyes a little bit, or even kind of adjust the color temperature of the dog's fur. But hopefully not much more than that, and your black dog looks like a normal black dog, or like they do in person. So friends, those were my best tips for photographing black dogs. Let me know in the comments which one was most helpful for you or that you didn't think about. Again, let me know in the comments below. Now, give this video a like if you found this video helpful or valuable in any way. Subscribe to my channel for more high quality pet photography content. I'll be back with another video again soon, and as always, be kind and rescue dogs. Thanks for watching.